In the studio with us now is Registered Dietitian Virginia Cail with Prairie Mountain Health. Thank you for coming in studio today.
You're welcome. Hello.
Now, can we start off with like a definition of diet and nutrition? I'm sure those are two terms that come up in your practice. What's the difference?
Well, you may have heard most of us have heard the expression, we are what we eat. And we know that what goes into our mouth is what becomes our body. So the diet part is the food, the stuff that you put into your mouth, what you plan, and the nutrition part is what ends up happening to your body with those nutrients.
The people that you're dealing with in your practice, have they been reporting any issues or problems with their diet and nutrition as directly related to the nature of the whole COVID situation that's been going on since March?
Do you know, there's been a handful of people that have, yes. I would think probably the biggest impact has been my contact with them has changed drastically. So some people certainly are experiencing they're eating more, eating differently. But in terms of the work that I do with them, it's usually by phone now, which is a new way of doing things, or a video conference if they have a device with camera. But for whoever I work with, I find out what their current food and living situation's like, help them apply the evidence-based guidelines around their health condition to come up with small, doable changes that they're willing and able to make in the current environment or in any environment they're living in.
So with the challenges that are faced to our health and different dimensions of our health, right? You have our physical, mental, spiritual health, and I think a lot of those dimensions of health are challenged by this COVID-19 situation. Can you...
definitely.
Could you tell me, what do you think, how does nutrition and diet contribute to our overall well-being? Maybe just beyond the, in the physical sense.
For sure. I mean, I actually read something recently about Canadian Nutrition Society pointing out that even just basic access to food has changed. There have been job loss. There's been less money available to buy food for people. There have been changes in agriculture even, so some stuff is less available than it was before. People are isolating at home and avoiding the grocery store because of the fear of being exposed to the virus. So all of those factors impact how they respond to the world around them, to their friends and family, to their church communities, if they're part of a church community. People are staying at home and doing less out there. So that's not easy on any of us, to be less connected with people. I like how they switched actually from talking about social isolation to making it a physical isolation. You can still stay connected socially with people, but not necessarily physically the same way we're used to. And that affects our, like you say, the mental health, the spiritual health, all part of us.
Yeah, the idea that even the way we access our food is becoming more challenged or put under stress due to the whole COVID situation. In your practice with Prairie Mountain Health, are you aware of any resources or programs in terms of the issues that we're now encountering with just a matter of getting the right food?
For sure. Everywhere across Prairie Mountain Health, there are food banks in various communities, and so people can find out where they are locally. There's another one that I'm aware of here in Dauphin called Under One Roof, which is providing a hot meal. For a number of months, they've been doing it only by delivering meals to folks' homes, but I think starting this month, actually, in a couple of weeks, they're going to be doing it in person again. So at the United Church in town, they invite people to come. I think they're having a maximum of 50 between 4:30 and 6:30. They get a hot meal. They have some resources that they're connected with. The Friendship Center has some good resources in Dauphin as well. And lots of communities have that. So that'd be one place where people can go.
What work is done to educate people in the general public that understand that the right diet, the right nutrition is going to lead to better health outcomes, but how do we really get in touch with that information? What resources are there to help us learn more about nutrition itself and how we can better change the way we deal with food to improve our overall health?
Probably anybody that has a specific health condition can go to that particular website. So if there's lung disease, which of course is a key one when you think of COVID-19 as a respiratory illness, so lung.ca is a website people can go to, and there's information about eating well on it for that condition. The Diabetes Association, diabetes.ca, is another really good resources. And then what was the third one I was thinking of? The Heart Foundation, so heartandstroke.ca, similarly has information specific to those health conditions. Then there are, our website, Prairie Mountain Health, has food and nutrition links on it, on the website, so people can go to that website as well. There are some really good resources with Health Canada. WHO actually has some really good ones as well. I saw some that I liked that are more accessible, I think, almost to Ottawa Public Health.ca. So lots of organizations are trying to go beyond the clients they see in one-on-one and make available information more available generally to people.
Virginia Cail, registered dietitian with Prairie Mountain Health, here with us in studio. Virginia, underlying conditions aside, just for the general population, what role does proper eating and proper nutrition play in our overall health?
Huge impact. So most of us have heard that expression that we are what we eat, and we know what goes into our mouth is what becomes our body. And so for our bodies to do what we want them to do every day, the nutrition or nutrients that we feed them is really key. So when I eat only a few types of foods, say potato chips and pop, or only pizza and burgers, or even only rice and beans, there'll be nutrients missing for rebuilding the billions of cells in my blood, my bone marrow, my hormones, my organs, my skin, and my hair. So in addition to that basic food becomes me idea, there's the impact of the process of eating on my well-being. So we talked earlier about getting the money and getting to the grocery store, that kind of thing, who I'm with, what my mental state is when I'm eating. All those factors affect that. And maybe you can tell I love food and the science behind it. Some of the changes I've seen in nutrition knowledge or nutrition science over the years since my biochemistry degree have been in the areas of immunity, genetics, the gut microbiome, and inflammation. And so nutrition science, just like climate science or pandemic science, grows, and each new discovery helps to add to our basic knowledge and helps guide our choices to be healthier than the people who lived before us.
So you would say that diet nutrition has a big role to play in our immune system function, correct?
Yes, definitely.
Now, what are some actionable tips? We understand the importance of having an immune system in any time. Obviously, during the COVID situation, it sounds like a pretty good line of defense to do what you can do, control the things you can with the food you put in your body to bolster and strengthen your immune system. What are the actionable, what's the conventional wisdom for experts right now in immune system management with the way we're eating?
There's two things. One is the stress, again, related around the eating. So if people can find ways to relax, to get back down to center, to be regularly in a place where they're content and happy, that makes a huge difference for how our bodies will actually use the foods that we eat. And there is currently research being done around our immune system. We need both the macronutrients, the protein, the fat, the carbohydrates, and the micronutrients, so the vitamins and minerals, vitamin A, C, D, E, B6, B12, folic acid. Those are all really important, as well as the minerals, iron, zinc, copper, and selenium. So there isn't one particular magic way of eating or one food. So if people are interested to learn more about where to get those particular nutrients, there are places you can go to analyze what your food intake is. Chronometer, MyFitnessPal, some of them have those kind of options available. But I think the bottom line, the idea is to consume and to choose more often the nutrient-dense foods, the foods that have lots of vitamins and minerals, lots of variety of colors. Those are the things that can make a difference to your overall immune system.
And that will typically be those kind of foods that will have that diverse amount of nutrients and give your body all the wide range of things it needs to be operating as well as it can, have your immune system operating as well as it can. What kind of foods are we talking? Because it's probably not too much relying on fast food. You mentioned the pop and the chips. We want to diversify, but what are like some good general guiding principles for diversifying our diet to have the optimal immune system function and optimal overall sense of well-being and energy?
Well, and And I think I'll answer that with a focus on what we can do during COVID, because if we're still living in this situation, we have to be careful with not going out too often and only having one person to the grocery store, that kind of thing. How do we make our kitchens a really good source of healthy food? And one of the things that the Ottawa Public Health Association had a list of essential supplies, focusing on things like the fresh vegetables that have a longer shelf life. So the beets and carrots and parsnips and potatoes and sweet potatoes and cabbage and squash and onions, and fresh fruit that has a longer shelf life, like the apples and oranges. Frozen vegetables, canned vegetables and fruit, dried fruit, all of those things are really helpful to have around. Grains like rice and quinoa and pasta and that are fortified, frozen and canned meats, eggs, milk powder, canned and dried beans, chickpeas, lentils, that kind of thing. So lots of foods that can be bought in small amounts as you need them or when you shop, but will be there for weeks and months without having to replenish them.
Because, like you're saying, during this COVID situation, let's maybe orient our food strategy, our plan, to maybe ways we can avoid going to the grocery store so often. That's really interesting.
Yeah, and then also, I would say, for, again, helping the communities and survive this economic challenge, is do like a once a week kind of order out. Choose a restaurant in town and have them deliver or pick up, because that can help all of us if we're part of this together, being in the community. So let's work together to get through it.
Virginia Cail, registered dietitian with Prairie Mountain Health, here with us on Your Health and Wellness, our month-long feature here on 730 CKDM. Virginia, when it comes to, we all have so much to learn when it comes to nutrition and our health. There's so much information out there, but we know if we can absorb enough of that information, it can make a huge impact on the quality of our lives day to day, whether that's managing underlying issues we might have or just in general, energy level, feelings of optimism to getting out of bed and doing what you have to do, supporting your body with, the food you put in your body. When you're dealing with your clients, what are some of these like concrete, actionable tips and advice that you're able to give that you have found to be effective for us?
Yeah, so what I do with folks is I'll sit down or chat over the phone with them about what is life like for you now? What are you eating? What are some things that you find challenging? And then help them choose something small. It could be as easy as one more serving your fruit or vegetable each day, or adding 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed to their cereal or salad once or twice a day. Sitting down to plan their meals for the week and have an idea what they're going to do the next 4 or 5 days, or even just one day at a time. What's on my menu for today or tomorrow? Could be on the other area that also impacts health is deciding to call up someone in their COVID bubble to go walking with, or get back to those weights or treadmill that they have in the basement or in the house, or find an online exercise program, because there are lots of those available as well. For others, it might actually be more important to carve out or schedule in 15 minutes twice a week to do a meditation or a prayer, or read something other than COVID news, or turn off all screens half an hour before they go to bed so they can sleep better. In other words, nourishing themselves without food, with a focus on the mental, spiritual, and emotional health as well.
If we're able to manage other aspects of our health area, does it kind of support, do they kind of play into one another?
Definitely.
If my exercise is routine is strong and I've stayed committed, sometimes that'll support a better diet as well, right?
I think so. I think I think what's really important for people to realize or to remember is that change doesn't happen overnight. We can't change everything today and tomorrow we're going to be all better. But like any habit, 15 times of repeating it, then it becomes a habit. So that means about 2 weeks if it's every day. So if you choose one small thing to do this week, and then next week choose one more small thing to do, then gradually your sense of being in control and being able to decide what you're going to do with your day and how you're going to feel in the morning and what you're going to accomplish in the day can improve gradually.
And we're always learning, right? There's so much information when it comes to health to absorb and to apply in your own life. There's also so much individual differences between people. You have to figure out what works for you. So it's kind of a twofold exploration. What is the conventional wisdom? What do people like Virginia Cail have to say when it comes to health experts advising different aspects of managing your health? Then you also kind of over time figure out what works for you. And,
exactly.
Me personally, Virginia, I've lost 80 pounds. I had a sort of a weight loss journey, and it was really a long learning process, but gradually I just figured out what was working for me, and I've arrived at a place where I feel like my diet is much better, my exercise routine, all these things have kind of gained enough momentum, and they've been refined enough to where I feel like I'm operating and I feel much better, right?
Yep. Well, and like you say, I think the each person's different, and when they're ready to start a program of change, or even just to take on one change, is different. So when they're ready and when they have the supports in place from family and friends, and someone to be accountable to, that might be the time for them to go ahead and take that. In terms of the information we're hearing from experts, there's always going to be that information out there, and there might be even stuff that the conventional or the traditional sources are saying that's different. And so each person has to decide who they're going to trust and where the information is coming from and what applies to their life, what they can make doable for themselves.
Virginia, I'll ask you, I'll boil it down to a simple question. At the end of the day, the motivation to learn more about our nutrition and diet, and maybe the effort we can put in to try to change that for the better, what's the benefit? What are you going to benefit from by changing your diet and really trying to improve it?
I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning. You are what you eat. So if you are able to improve the choices you make each day and what food goes into your body, your brain, your organs are going to function better. You will feel better. You'll look better. And all of those things will mean that our communities can get better as well.
Finding a dietitian. Okay, I've just heard the Virginia Cail feature on 730 CKDM. You know what? I feel like, yes,
Talk
I
to
do
her.
feel like now, what's that process like of maybe seeking going a step further for some professional consultation here?
Yeah, the Prairie Mountain Health has, like I mentioned, the website, prairiemountainhealth.ca, has food and nutrition links. There's also a link to the programs in primary health care, that range from teen clinics to mental health to our program, the Chronic Disease Education Program. And we have a toll-free number people can call, 1-877-509-7852, and they can learn about the programs we're offering, the classes that are being offered, as well as self-refer to the program to see our dietitian or nurse educators.
Virginia, I know that there's a lot of talk about how food and proper diet can improve your mood. I know me personally, when I find a way to get my diet under control, I have more energy, I feel lighter, I feel more clear-headed. Overall, I would say the mood is much better. Now, can you talk about what is the conventional wisdom when it comes to managing our diet and improving our mood and the way we feel?
Some of the basics around that actually have to do with the carbohydrate, the macronutrient, the carbohydrates, because glucose is basically brain power. 20% of all the energy used in the body is by the brain. The brain kind of controls what the rest of the body is doing all the time, so it needs the fuel to handle its job all day. Then there's the whole aspect about comfort eating, that sometimes we will eat to improve our mood, thinking that certain foods will improve that, and those probably are more to do with the learned behaviors that we have around food and our relationship with food. We're actually offering a course regularly called Craving Change that deals exactly with that, not about what you're eating, but why you're eating the way you are. So again, call that toll-free number to find out more about that one. But there have been research around caffeine and how that can affect your mood, your energy level. And then the nutrients that sometimes can be missing are iron, that can reduce your energy level because of the oxygen required by all your body to function well. So again, go back to those red meats and pulses, the cheap protein sources of beans, fortified cereals. And then folate and selenium, again, those minerals I mentioned before about found in organ meats and green vegetables and nuts and seeds. So lots of things can affect how our minds are functioning. Having lots of fruits and veggies, whole grain cereals, protein foods, including oily fish, and then we'll get a really good source of good health in the end and a good mood.
Virginia, when it comes to weight loss, there's lots of different things. Exercise, diet. I guess there's two different things.
more than two.
Virginia, when it comes to weight loss, we know about exercise being something people focus on a lot, doing the crunches, what have you. What role does diet have to play when it's all said and done? Just how important is managing our diet to achieving our weight loss goals, and maybe that weight loss contributing to an overall sense of well-being, kind of helping weather the COVID storm a bit from a mental health perspective?
It's interesting that there's actually some new clinical practice guidelines that just came out around the whole obesity or people living in larger bodies. And it's designed for people who are professionals as well as people living in larger bodies to read these guidelines. So feel free to go and find them online. But the bottom line is that, yes, food and what we do physically for exercise do impact what our size is going to be. However, there's much more of an emphasis now on health gains over weight loss. And so just being able to identify what it is you want to be able to be in a better place for yourself, whether it's being able to reach down to tie your shoes, or whether it's being able to have a higher energy level in the day, or whether it's being able to have a better mood, those are the focuses now instead of what the scale says. So be focused on what it is you want to achieve and address that. Don't worry what the scale says.
And when we start working on those health outcomes like our energy levels, eating properly, getting those nutrients, it seems like most of the time the scale will kind of follow in the direction we'd like it to. But I like what you're saying, which is the priority would be your health gains, and weight loss can be more of a secondary byproduct of really addressing your overall health first and foremost.
Yeah, and there's so much out there right now that's actually almost biased against people who live in larger bodies. And so I think these guidelines also address that we're trying to be more accepting of people in various, schooling levels or sizes or language or culture. And so size is just one more human characteristic that makes us different from each other.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming in and sharing information about diet and nutrition, how that can benefit us overall, but especially during this COVID time. And there's certainly a lot of challenges that we face all the time, especially during COVID, when it comes to accessing the right food, having the finances to, really make sure that we're eating that quality food. It certainly tends to skew a bit easier to maybe not eat so healthy when the budget is tight. So we appreciate you coming in and sharing all this information. And of course, we have all the links. More details will be up on 730ckdm.com for all the resources and all the tips that we've talked about today. Virginia Cail, registered dietitian with Prairie Mountain Health. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing this information today.
You're welcome. Thanks for the interest.